All right, y'all know that I am a big Bravo fan. I'm a big Housewives fan. But what I'm even more a fan of are people who are unapologetically themselves, unapologetically patriotic, and they keep it real. Now, listen. My next guest is not only an alum of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, she is unafraid and unapologetic in her approach to, I don't know, some of the hottest topics of our day. Whether the folks on Bravo liked it or not, she's still going to speak her truth and the truth, which is perhaps the most important thing. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum Annemarie Wiley joins me now. So I'm so happy that I get to talk to you, Annemarie. Obviously, I'm a big fan. I was a big fan of you on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, although it was obviously a short-lived tenure that you had. I want to dive into that because a lot of people that watch me know I'm a big Housewives fan, a big Bravo fan. And for years now, I've been saying and tweeting at Andy Cohen, you need to bring in some people that are maybe more conservative minded, not even conservative, just maybe more conservative minded, maybe even just a little bit independent, maybe just not so far left. And then finally we get somebody and they do you dirty. Tell me about that experience.
Well, first, I want to say it's super nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me on, Tommy. The funny thing is, I was actually a lifelong Democrat. I'm from Canada, and I was always in favor of very strong social systems. So I was a lifelong Democrat. It was only this election cycle that I actually, became more, I guess you could say, Republican, or really I like to identify myself as more right of center or right leaning. So when I was cast on the show, it all happened very, very fast. They were midway through the season. One of the cast members contacted me literally by a DM, said, we've started filming season 13. The producers are interested in having you on the show. Would you consider it? And, I was very happy being a private person. My husband is a public person. He has been for a very long time, played in the NFL for 10 years and has been a sports broadcaster for a very long time. But I was happy being a private person, being a wife, a mom, a professional, taking care of my children and the house. But when this opportunity presented itself, I thought, I'll do it, and I'll do it for two reasons. Number one, I thought that it would be a wonderful opportunity to showcase a happy nuclear Black family, because I feel like that is missing from programming currently. And number two, I wanted to be a different kind of housewife. I wanted to showcase someone that, had a very varied background. I'll give you a little bit of my backstory. I'm biracial. I was put up for adoption when I was born. I was adopted by a Dutch Indonesian family, so I grew up in an Asian household in a very small rural town outside of Vancouver in Canada. I played sports my entire life. I played collegiate basketball to get my way through college, got my nursing degree, moved to California, met my NFL husband, and, started our family. We have four amazing children. And so I thought it would be a really great opportunity to be someone that could be relatable to viewers. We're not just all these women that are born in Beverly Hills with silver spoons in our mouths. I worked very hard to be where I am today. And so I wanted to be someone that the viewers could see in themselves and relate to.
Yeah, and I thought that you were. And, it's really interesting to me the way that they cast these things. And I'm sure that's a much larger discussion as well. But, when they were casting you, now again, you're not like a Republican. You're not like if they were to cast me, it's like I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative. That kind of smacks you in the face.
Right.
But with you, when they're going through that casting, did they give you a litmus test on where you align politically? Or did they think, okay, this is a Black woman. We know what she must believe. She's good. She's clear. I'm sure she's a Democrat. I'm sure she's a far left liberal. I'm sure she's BLM. Did they kind of put you in that category, or what was that process like?
Those things were never discussed. So when it was, leaked that I was going to be on the show, the atmosphere around everything was so positive. Everybody was so excited. The media's like, Marcellus Wiley's wife, Annemarie Wiley, filming for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She's going to be the perfect addition. She's got this amazing full life, this hysterical husband, beautiful children, this blossoming, amazing career. She's intelligent. She's a professional. Like it was, it was wonderful. She's an athlete. She's a fitness advocate. It was glowing review. She's going to be the perfect addition, was what the headlines were. And then shortly thereafter, it was discovered from actually a clip of my husband from something, I think it was years ago, where he had said, and again, because my husband has been a public person for a very long time, and he had said on the issue of trans women competing in women's sports, he had said he would not allow our daughters to compete with a biological male. He would protect them from that. And so someone in this media universe dug that up, and I was vilified because of it. So there were really two issues, Tomi, that I want to make very clear for you. The first issue that I was canceled for, again, was being opposed to trans women or biological males competing in women's sports. The second issue was actually around pedophilia, my opposition to pedophilia. So there was this narrative pushed that I was best friends with Candace Owens. Okay. And let me tell you where that came from. Do you remember I think it was the end of 2021 when Balenciaga came out with that pedophilia campaign? I have 4 children. I, as a mother, was outraged when I saw this. And I was even more outraged by the fact that everyone was silent about it. And there were a few people only that I found online that were actually talking about this issue. One of them was Megyn Kelly, another one was Tucker Carlson, and the other one was Candace Owens. And I was never a political person. I wasn't in this space. And I actually didn't even know who any of them were at the time, but I started following Candace because she was so outspoken on the issue. And so when this was picked up on, she follows Candace Owens, she's best friends with Candace Owens. And I'm like, no, I'm just opposed to the human trafficking rings and the pedophilia that we now know are happening in our country, right? Like we're on the verge, hopefully, of the Diddy list and the Epstein list being released. That is what I'm opposed to. And so just the fact that both of those things were weaponized against me. 80% of the country agrees that biological males should not be competing in women's sports. I told you I was an athlete my entire life. I ran track from the age of 5. I was a collegiate basketball player. I need bilateral knee replacements because of what I gave to my sport for all of those years. Of course, I'm opposed to that. 80% of the country, as I just said, is opposed to that. And I'm a mother. Beyond being a mother, who in their right mind is okay with the rape of children, with human trafficking of children? Why are we quiet about that?
It's so weird, and I feel like there's a couple things at play here. 1, California. 2, Bravo. I love Bravo, but when I look at the casts of these various different shows, they are very diverse in appearance, but they're not very diverse in opinion. And so the second that somebody comes out and they have an opinion that's even such a logical, realistic one that is shared by most Americans in the country and most voters, it's not, it's not accepted on Bravo. And that's weird to me. And again, you got to talk to me about some of your fellow castmates too, kind of beating up on you for this. It's really weird because couple of things here. Bravo for years has been about feminism, about empowering women. Weird that you'd want to take away women's sports and spaces if you are, in fact, a feminist. But also, the Housewives franchise is supposed to be a sisterhood. So even if you have differing opinions, it's really the franchise is really this narrative that women stick together and, we're from different places and different races, but we're all, this sisterhood bond of the Real Housewives. Was that surprising to you to see the way that they turned against you, and in many cases, very publicly?
I didn't know what to expect when I went into it. I was just very optimistic about the opportunity. Like I told you the reasons why I was looking forward to it. So I really can't speak about why, the other women choose to do what they do or act the way that they do. I can really only speak to the fact that, I think a lot of the country would love to see programming going forward, having more right of center, right leaning, conservative people on the programs, because that's really what is resonating with America right now, right? Like, look at what just happened the other day to Joy Reid, right? I mean, yes, she had low ratings. I truly believe that's the reason her show was canceled. But also, I think the narrative is moving away from just bashing Trump and bashing Republicans all the time, right? The country has shown what they want to see. And I think people want to see more of those conservative views on mainstream television.
It's amazing because I watch a lot of Bravo. And for me, it's like this. If you want the Real Housewives and other Bravo shows to be political, then let's show both sides. If you don't want them to be political at all, then don't include and ramrod the BLM stuff and the race stuff and the trans stuff and the LGBTQ stuff. Don't ram that down our throats either. As someone who watches every single franchise of the Real Housewives and every single show on Bravo religiously, including Watch What Happens Live, as soon as they start doing in 2020, when they started doing the BLM stuff and they started doing that, I didn't want to watch it because I was like, listen, this is my escape. I do this for a living. I don't want to watch it. But what's weird to me is that these authentic conversations, if they do want to inject politics, why not have an authentic conversation with you on camera about why you think women should have their own sports? Was that never on the table?
I truly, I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I can only talk to what my experience was in terms of what I will always stand up for and what I will always speak up against. I can't.
What about behind the scenes, though? Like with these people that are taking issue with you, Crystal and Garcelle. For those that don't watch Bravo, you're like, who the hell are these people? Watch Bravo, you'll know. But these people that have taken public hits at you and called you names, even, insinuating that you're a racist, off camera, behind the scenes, do they really keep up that charade that they think that you're this awful person because you want to protect women's sports and you're against a Balenciaga campaign that's sexualizing children? Like, off camera, is that really how they treat you?
I think there's this overarching theme in Hollywood in general that you have to be Democrat. And beyond that, you have to go along with their ideologies, no matter how ludicrous and insane and nonsensical they are. So whether or not they agreed with me, because I will tell you that there are issues that some of them did agree with me. They'll never say that publicly, and they said that they won't say it publicly. But there are issues that they would agree with. But there's this theme in Hollywood, like, people know you have to conform to these ideologies, whether you agree with them or not. Otherwise, you will be canceled, like I was. I didn't know that at the time. And again, it wasn't even my doing per se, because it was something that came about because of something my already famous husband had said a long time ago.
That wasn't controversial in the least, by the way.
And
like, that's not a controversial thing to say.
But that's the thing. It was controversial before. When my husband said it years ago, it was controversial. And it's so funny because now you see people like Stephen A. Smith on ESPN. He came out and said that recently, right? He came out and spoke against biological males in women's sports. So obviously there's been this shift at ESPN. Well, okay, Stephen A., you can now say that at ESPN. You saw Charlemagne the God the other day came out and said it as well. Like, now it has become a mainstream acceptable thing to say. But I don't think Hollywood's not there yet. Hollywood is not there. I mean, look, go back, Tomi, to the election cycle, okay? We had people who were campaigning and endorsing Kamala Harris who had previously had just said, oh, I don't like politics, or I'm not going to endorse her, right? Like Cardi B, Usher, oh, I'm not going to get into politics. And then shortly thereafter, they're on the podium saying, oh, yeah, I would love Kamala to be our president. Now, do you think that was of their own doing? Or do you think that's what has to happen so that you follow what Hollywood needs you to do in order to keep your position? And I think we all know the answer to that. Clearly, we all know the answer to that.
It's really disappointing. I think there's definitely a shift though. So I want to talk to you about your shift. So, after obviously watched your season, saw the way that they, chewed you up and spit you out and the way that they badmouthed you. I follow all of it. Like I said, I'm very deep in the Bravo universe here. So I watched all of it and I was like, wow, like I really, appreciate that she's willing to come out and say what she stands for and to not back down or apologize for it. I thought that was really admirable. And, we reached out and we wanted you on the show and you said, hey, I'm not really doing this right now. Like, I don't want to get into it. Like, you wanted to take a beat, and that's completely understandable. But now I see you at the White House for a Black History Month celebration. You're embracing these ideals, not necessarily a conservative, but like you said, right of center, maybe more independent thinking, just not so far to the left. So what was the calculus for you saying, I actually do want to dive in and this is the point, I'm ready to do it?
I just needed some time to prioritize my peace. My family is the most important thing to me. And I needed to make sure that I was in a mental space where I was ready to be more vocal about these things. And, there were certain things I also needed to take care of before this. And I just feel like now is a good time. And honestly, I'll be very, very transparent. It was eating me up, not saying something before. But again, I just needed to prioritize my peace, prioritize my family before I was ready to dive into this space, because I know the battle that it is. Like, I know what it is when strong women like you are talking about these things day in and day out, and especially living in California, in Los Angeles, where people are so, for lack of a better term, just hateful. People are
Yeah.
very, very hateful, and they will spew terms like bigot and transphobic in order to silence you and fear, cause fear and make you silent on these issues, and make you feel bad for speaking out about what you believe in, So I needed to be in a headspace where I was ready to kind of start this challenge.
Yeah, I lived in California for a few years, and it was actually scary for me. Aside from all the reasons that California is already scary, like the rampant homeless
Homelessness, crime.
population, yeah, the crime, the open air drug markets, all of that dangerous on their own, and then add in being a conservative in there and a noticeable conservative, and it wasn't safe for me. So I left, happy that I did. I'm in Tennessee now and in Nashville, where we have a lot of diversity of opinion, but it's not dangerous for conservatives here, even though we are a blue city within a very, very red state. I encourage you to try out Nashville sometime. But I do want to ask you this, because we saw a big change about a month ago with the wildfires in California. A lot of people, including a Kardashian, came out and even criticized Mayor Karen Bass. And we're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is, we lost everything. You guys could have prevented this. There was an uproar. Now, I'm wondering if what you're seeing in California, is that sustained, or now that the fires are over, are people right back on the wagon?
No, I have definitely seen a shift. It's been a very big shift, especially in Los Angeles. We're very close to where the Palisades fire occurred. Let me tell you, it was honestly apocalyptic for weeks here. So much devastation, so many people lost so much in both Altadena and in the Palisades. And I really do think that there has been a shift. People have started to realize how much of our tax money is being wasted on what we pay. We pay some of the highest taxes in the country. And not just not having the resources to fight those fires. People are like, compound that with, again, we have the highest crime in the country, or not the highest crime, sorry, the highest homelessness in the country, one of the highest crime rates in the country. And they're like, for what? So a lot of people are either leaving the state, moving to Orange County, which is, a more red area, or they've just decided that they're going to start voting based on more Republican and conservative values. So I definitely have seen a shift here. I will not say it's everyone, though. Absolutely not. California is still very, very liberal, but there has definitely been a drastic shift.
Well, I think a lot of people are liberal in California because it's a way of life, not necessarily even because they agree with the tenets of being a Democrat. It's really hard for me, especially going back to the Housewives conversation, because I wish I could talk to some of these people that are on the show with you and say, okay, almost all of you have been robbed. You all live behind a gate. Most of you live behind a gate, so you're afraid of something. And even the gate didn't protect you from the crime rings. And a lot of these crime rings that are coming in are illegal immigrant gangs, by the way, Chilean gangs that are now also targeting athletes around the country, not just in California. But for me, it's like, are y'all really Democrats and liberals, or do you just love gay people? Because I'm thinking like you might be socially liberal and you love abortion and you love gay, and that's fine. But on the actual issues, y'all have also a lot of money. You're clearly capitalists. I would highly doubt that any of the ladies that are on your cast are trying to pay the most in taxes that they possibly can. And I'm guessing that they like their things and they like traveling on private jets. So the climate change thing, that doesn't align. Really, nothing outside of abortion and gay rights strikes me as liberal or Democrat, even with the prominent people in LA on Bravo and in the most prominent areas in California. Do they not see it?
So here's another issue with that in Los Angeles and California specifically. As I told you, because it's very hard to be conservative here, people won't say that they are. People will, like during the election cycle, I know so many people who pretended that they had voted Democrat when really they didn't. And there's small circles of people. Actually, I shouldn't even say small. There are quite large circles of people who will all talk amongst each other about that. And we all know that we voted for Trump, but they won't publicly say that they voted for Trump. Whether it's, they don't want to lose a role or a job or an endorsement or whatever it is, people won't actually say that they voted for Trump, even when they did. And, I think that's one of the things that kind of snuck up on people during the election as well is, they're showing the polls and like, oh, Kamala's ahead by blah, blah, blah. It's because people are feared into not saying that they're Republicans. That's just the way it is here. So yeah, I mean, we like our safety. My neighborhood is one of the areas that has been targeted. We have a lot of athlete friends, right? Like I said, my husband played in the NFL. We have tons of athlete friends. And I know at least 10 people that have been broken into in the past year. And the police tell them that they are the Venezuelan gangs that have organized so radically in these areas. And they're the ones who are carrying out these operations. It's very scary. And it's like we have to get to a point where we have to prioritize our safety. Otherwise, what is going to happen? People get slapped on the wrist for committing these crimes. You can walk into a CVS, and as long as you steal less than $900, you're going to walk free. Like it's absolutely ludicrous. And we've just gotten a new DA in Los Angeles. We are very optimistic is going to turn things around, and we'll hopefully have, real consequences here in Los Angeles again for crime.
Boy, that would be nice.
It would be.
Prop 36 also passed. So people do want there to be punishments. And again, I wish that I could talk to the ladies on your cast and I wish I could just tell them, listen, you can be pro-choice and you can be lovers of LGBTQ, whatever, and you can still be a Republican. Those things are not mutually exclusive. And if you look on the list of things, you might find yourself to be more of a conservative than you ever thought possible. Last thing I do want to ask you about, I mentioned that you went to the White House Black History Month celebration. I saw your photos, great photos. What was that experience like? And also, I don't think they can cancel Tiger Woods. I don't think they want to try, but he was there supporting President Trump. So what was the experience like?
Tomi, it was the most incredible day. It was filled with so many open-minded and like-minded, welcoming, intelligent people. And it was so refreshing to see. I'm sure you saw what Jamal Bryant was talking about the other day.
Yeah,
calling,
he's another one from the Housewives universe, by the way.
Yeah. I want to talk about that for a second because when I saw that, I literally laughed out loud. You're talking about a man, a pastor that lives a very ungodly life, calling Black Republicans slaves. I'm like this, so there's two issues I have with that. We as a Black community, we really champion the wrong people. Okay, like he is not someone that we should be looking up to for anything. Similar to during the Kamala race when you have Meg the Stallion twerking on your campaign trail. Like those are not things that we as a community should be looking up to. And second of all, we love to call each other sellouts. And I want to tell your viewers something. Black people do not have to all talk the same We don't have to all think the same, and we do not have to all act the same. We are not a monolith. And anyone that wants to, you know, be a truth teller and be more open and honest who you are, just know that there are Black conservatives out there that will welcome you with open arms like they did to me. And you are not a sellout for not voting for Kamala just because she's Black. Because I, for one, am not, I will never vote on identity politics. Would I love to see a Black female president? Absolutely, I'd love to see it. But do I want it to be someone that I don't think is going to do a good job for our country? Absolutely not. I will never vote on identity politics. I will never vote for a DEI president. And I want people to know that, you know, we need to, as a community, champion better things. And going back to Jamal Bryant, if he wants to be, you know, a leader for his people, how about we start talking about things like the importance of fathers in the households, the importance of generational wealth, right? Let's stop this crabs in a barrel mentality. Let's start elevating each other up, not always dragging each other down and calling each other slaves and sellouts.
Yeah, it's amazing when you do have somebody who happens to be Black, who happens to be openly or outwardly conservative. It's amazing that those people are not championed and they're not celebrated. And in fact, they're demonized. So, you know, it's one thing when you talk about all this discussion about Black excellence. Well, is that only reserved for liberals? Because you treat Black conservatives like trash.
Right.
I've yet to see them try to come after Tiger Woods. I'm sure that maybe that's coming, or maybe people are just used to it at this point. But it's laughable. You did a great job standing up for yourself, not only post show, but you know what you've been doing and speaking out. And I think you give a lot of people a lot of hope. And I think that you know it also inspires people to be outspoken and unapologetic. So I'm glad that you are doing it. And thank you so much for taking all this time today. My last question for you: are you still able to watch and enjoy Bravo even after everything?
I do not watch it.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, I don't know if you know, but they badmouthed you again last night on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I'm sure you heard about it. I'm sure you heard about it.
I don't follow anything Bravo related anymore.
Yeah. Well, listen, you get the last laugh because you're living in their head rent free and you're not even on the season and they're still talking about you. So, hey, listen, you made an impact and you made your mark. And even more so, you're speaking out and you're giving a lot of people a lot of inspiration. So, thank you so much, Annemarie, for being with me today. God bless you and keep speaking out.
Thank you, Tomi. Thanks so much for having me on.
Of course. And please come to Nashville one of these days. All right, folks, that does it for this very special Bravo and free speech hybrid episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I'll, of course, see you right back here Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.